Something happens when all of that green is on. The freckles go on, and the hair goes on, the makeup goes on, eyes go on, and it's not me I'm looking at, it's her.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the costume details you might not have noticed in the 2024 smash hit musical Wicked.
Once you have an actor in the costume, it attains a soul.
Number 10. Mrs. Throp's dress. Anyone who knows The Wizard of Oz remembers the scene of Dorothy and her friends falling asleep in the poppy fields.
Oh, this is terrible! Can't budger an inch! This is a spell, this is! It's the Wicked Witch!
Inspired by the sedative properties of poppies, Wicked takes this idea one step further. In the opening number, we briefly meet the Wicked Witch of the West's mother, Mrs. Throp. She's outfitted in a red dress inspired by the flowering plant, which costume designer Paul Tazwell describes as an upside-down poppy.
And the reason it's red is because it's a poppy turned upside down. The idea of poppies relates to the potion that she drinks.
This isn't just a callback. It's a reference to the elixir she drinks, which we get a glimpse of during her brief appearance in the film.
Have another drink, my dark-eyed beauty. I've got one more night left here in town. So have another drink of green elixir.
Tazwell carried the motif into Nessa Rose's clothing as well. Number 9. Madame Morrible's hair and astronomy details.
Here, the brightest and the best young minds can study fascinating subjects such as logic, literature, linguification, and of course my specialty, sorcery.
As the Dean of Sorcery at Shiz University, Madame Morrible is all bluster. Her genuine magic capabilities let her command the wind and control the weather, and you need look no further than her styling to know that. Her various cloaks, robes, and gowns all feature symbols inspired by astronomy.
And that's what I try to do, is make all my characters very different. You want to be her. You want to be this amazing woman.
Moons, suns, stars, and all sorts of powerful occult symbols can be seen in her attire, whether it's in the ornate patterns or in the precise embroidery. Also, note the hair. That spiral gray updo very much connotes the clouds.
Her magic is her control of weather. So I've used that idea throughout her clothing and also in her hairstyle, this undulating cloud.
Number 8. Fiyero sleeves.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
If you don't know what happens in part 2, you better skip this one. In the original Wicked musical and the book it's based on, Elphaba tries to protect Fiyero and inadvertently curses him instead. The consequence of her spell is that Fiyero becomes the Scarecrow who will accompany Dorothy on her quest to the Emerald City.
That's the trouble. I can't make up my mind. I haven't got a brain. Only straw.
Eagle-eyed viewers familiar with the original show may have caught a subtle nod to his fate right there on his sleeve. No, literally, there's embroidery in the shape of wheat stitched into the sleeves of his fine shirts.
Elphaba sees in him something that is beyond a physical appearance. It's actually the vulnerability of someone else that draws him closer to himself, and I think the person that he really wants to be.
Number 7. Shiz uniforms.
Dear Glinda, you are just too good. How do you stand it? I don't think I could. She's a terror, she's a tartar. We don't mean to show a bias, but Glinda, you're a martyr.
Despite all the students at Shiz University wearing the same uniform, costume designer Paul Tazwell wanted to find a way to weave each student's individual personality into their own look. As a result, every character's uniform is just a little bit different. And we're not just talking about the protagonists or the secondary characters either.
Let's go down to the Oz Dust Ballroom. We'll meet there later tonight. We can dance to the slide.
Every student on screen, even those who aren't named, are styled in such a way that no one looks exactly the same. Some students wear sweaters instead of jackets. Some have solid patterns while others have stripes. It's all about each character's expression.
I decided that the Ozian way would be to deconstruct the uniform shape. It speaks to individuality.
Number 6. Glinda's Ozdust dress.
You should join us tonight. And don't tell me you have nothing to wear, because you could wear this.
The intense and emotional Ozdust ballroom scene is a look into the fiercest fashions Oz has to offer. It's the moment Glinda spurns public opinion for the first time as she dances with Elphaba. Seeing as it's such a pivotal moment in Glinda's character arc, it's well worth noting that it's easily her boldest outfit choice.
She doesn't give a twink what anyone thinks.
Something is not the same. Of course she does. She just pretends not to.
Instead of her usual pastels, she's dressed in a frilly and fiery pink and orange number that's not quite so prim as what we're used to seeing her wear. Inspired by the color gradation of roses Paul Tazwell glimpsed in London's Regent's Park, the delicate look features a stunning ombre effect.
A rose that ombre'd from this wonderful golden yellow to pink. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would be so reflective of who Glinda is.
Down to the shoes. Number 5. The symbolism of Elphaba's costuming.
You're green.
I am.
Throughout her time at Shiz University, Elphaba Throp goes from combative, defensive outcast to the semi-popular paragon of excellence. Though this comes at a great cost, she is a freer and more fully realized version of herself by the end. That journey is also reflected in her clothing.
You see the same silhouette represented in the first time that we see her, when she has a beautiful black cashmere coat, and then she comes out of that, and then she's in a felted dress with a blouse that is all micro-pleated.
At the start, she's outfitted in more modest and restrictive clothing. In fact, her early costumes are based on turn-of-the-century Victorian garments. By the time she's defying gravity, she's in attire that's so free-flowing, it seems almost as limitless as her potential. The same principle applies to her nails, which also grow longer as the film goes on.
At the beginning of the film, Elphaba's natural green nails are an extension of her skin color. As she develops her sense of self and discovers her true potential, her manicure progresses to a longer, stronger look with powerful nail art.
Number 4. The ruby slippers.
You're gonna be popular. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair.
One of the changes to the original Oz story is actually as old as the 1939 movie.
There they are, and there they'll stay.
In L. Frank Baum's original book, the bejeweled slippers Dorothy ends up wearing are actually made of silver. This was changed to ruby for the film because MGM wanted to take advantage of the rich vibrancy of newly implemented Technicolor. In 2024's Wicked, we see the slippers reverted back to their original color. But the ruby shoes haven't been completely left out. In the sequence where Glinda vows to make Elphaba popular, there's a very quick moment where Glinda hands her roommate some familiar footwear, which she, of course, has to click together first.
And what the concept was for this was, rather than go into a giant closet, because it's a dorm room, that the closet was all the bags that we had seen in previous scenes. I love this moment where she grabs the ruby slippers and taps it 3 times as sort of our nod to Wizard of Oz.
Number 3. The silver slippers. Gifted to her by her father, Nessa Rose's slippers are a dazzling set of heels with beaded silver embedded in them. Fans of the musical know this is no throwaway moment. These slippers will come into play in the second half of the story.
Bring her to me.
But their striking appearance in Wicked Part 1 has a lot of fun details. For starters, the heel itself looks like a tornado, carrying the same spiral motif Paul Tazwell added to many of the looks.
It starts with a tornado that is spiraling up the heel. It creates the heel and then it opens up and then the spirals are surrounding the foot.
Also, peep the striped socks Nessa Rose wears in some of her scenes.
Stop! Let her go!
Now don't those look familiar? Number 2. Glinda's bubble dress.
Glinda's fashion story is so much fun.
Her interpretation of what that character is and her spirit, her personality, I put them all in a pot and stirred it up and out came Glinda.
According to Paul Tazwell, the Broadway production of Wicked actually ran into a legal snafu with the film studio who still owned The Wizard of Oz at that time. As a result, those designers ended up going with a blue dress instead. Tazwell brought back the pink look, and we're so glad he did.
Glinda has arrived!
Let's not step in the mud. Let's go that way.
It's good to see me, isn't it?
When Glinda comes down to Munchkinland in her pink bubble, she's wearing a look influenced by the film's spiral motif. Both the dress's construction and design took inspiration from the Fibonacci spiral, which helps give a lot of body to the garment.
Fibonacci spiral shape. So with the dress, we were looking at flat shapes that then, when they're spiraled around themselves, they start to create a specific shape. And then on top of that, it's over embroidered and beaded.
At the base of the skirt, you'll also be able to spot embroidered bubbles and circular shapes. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. No other green. Elphaba is the only green we see, until we get to the Emerald City, of course.
So I'll be back for good someday. To make my life and make my way before today will wander and enjoy.
Galinda's popular look is based on 1930s fashions. The peignoir and teddy underneath reference the period when the original film was made.
It's inspired by the Hollywood glamour of the 30s and 40s. It's really specific to that silhouette.
Galinda's hemlines get lower. Her wardrobe changes as she matures as a person.
I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy how you hurt your cause forever. I hope you think you're clever.
The spiral patterns. Many of the costumes and sets sport a spiral motif, inspired by the original film.
The cast is surrounded by spirals because that design element was adopted by Nathan Crowley as well.
The wizard's outfits. Jeff Goldblum's costumes are a nod to his character's carnival background.
His costume is covered in fobs and chains, that one that's a balloon and another one it's like trinkets or like little metal Monopoly figures.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Elphaba's designs are based on nature.
Why is it you're always causing some sort of commotion?
I don't cause commotions, I am one. Some of us are just different.
Despite wearing mostly black, the future Wicked Witch of the West's clothing is full of fascinating and intricate details that really pop on screen. Pleated fabric and ruffles are used to give her look some dimension and texture.
Paul created this beautiful pleated dress that felt like velvet with an underlayer of purple and lace.
Paul Tazwell felt that Elphaba was distinctly aligned with nature. Not only is she green, but she also becomes a staunch savior for the animals of Oz.
But she is also the advocate for animals. So I aligned her with nature. We've reinterpreted the underside of mushrooms as these swirling pleats that are applied onto the net of her blouse.
Her ecological-inspired outfits reflect this part of her personality. These designs are directly adapted from the natural world.
If you look closely at her velvet bodice, you'll see fiddle ferns embroidered onto the surface of her waistcoat.
In fact, the costuming of several looks was inspired specifically by mushrooms and other fungi. What was your favorite look in Wicked? Let us know in the comments. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.